This is the story of Mr. Aloysius, a man who dreamed of becoming a celebrity lawyer. To make himself stand out, he started appearing in court with long, rainbow-colored hair that caught everyone's attention. At night, he sang with his band, Eagles, at a hotel lounge, calling himself the cool, singing lawyer who could handle any case. He even got featured in Rockstar magazine and shared videos of his performances on TikTok, gaining fans online. To attract more clients, Mr. Aloysius came up with an unusual idea. He gave his business cards to nurses in hospital emergency departments and promised to pay them 200 to 300 ringgit for every client they referred to him. This plan worked, and he soon had more cases than he could handle. But the success came with problems. He got so busy that he forgot to tell one of his clients, Mr. Poe, about an important court date. Because of this, Mr. Poe's case was thrown out. Angry about what happened, Mr. Poe wanted to sue him. Mr. Aloysius tried to defend himself, saying he hadn't charged Mr. Poe any legal fees and that they had agreed to share any compensation if the case succeeded. Despite his explanation, the judge dismissed the case, and Mr. Aloysius had to face the consequences of his mistakes.
Hey, what are you guys up to?
We are reading the memo that Mr. Mano sent to us.
Oh yeah, I read the memo by Mr. Magno too, and that's why I'm with my LPA. I'm checking if there are many issues there and anything that we can be a help of.
I think I have found several issues relating to solicitor negligence, touting, and another one.
Contingency, is it?
Contingency fees. I think yes.
Actually, I found some issue in regards to the Mr. Aloysius' appearance and also self-promotion in this memo.
So what about it?
So in this memo, Mr. Aloysius was Mr. Magno pupils in chamber before this. However, he is currently operates a law firm as a sole proprietor. And then he started a new trend of appearing in the court with a long rainbow colored hair. At night, he sang at the hotel lounge with his band Eagles, where he advertised himself as the cool singing lawyer who was available to take any case under the sun. He also publicized his singing career in a Rockstar magazine, posted his cover song in his TikTok account. So this is the in the memo that about. First, let's start with his appearance in court with long rainbow colored hair. Based on the Malaysia Bar Council circular, it only talks about the attire, not the hair color. So technically, there is no direct breach in this case. So, but in Rule 15 of the Legal Profession and Practice and Etiquette, it requires the lawyer to maintain a respectful attitude towards the court. While it doesn't explicitly mention hair, his rainbow-colored hair could be seen as disrespectful or unprofessional, depending on how conservative the judge or the court culture is. Exactly. The secular measure might not cover it, but the cultural norms or public perception is a matter. If his appearance undermines the decorum of court proceedings, it could still reflect poorly on the profession, on this legal profession. So, what do you think, Zaf?
I agree. I think it's a grey area legally, but I think perception is key in maintaining public trust.
Exactly, the public perception is key. So we're moving on to the second issue, which when Mr. Yap Lysus advertising himself as a cool singing lawyer. This was clearly breaches the Rule 5 of the Legal Profession Publicity Rules, when his action, like saying he's available to take any case under the sun, misled the public into thinking he's an expert in area of law. That is explicitly against the rule. Not to mention the way he publicized himself on the TikTok and also the Rockstar magazine, and during the performance in the hotel. It is diminished public confidence in the legal profession. That's a direct violation of Rule 5. Also, Rule 13 and 21 also reinforce this violation. He's using platforms like TikTok and magazine to mix his entertainment career with legal services which is not allowed.
So, what is allowed?
Oh, this platform must only contain approved legal content, not a personal branding as a single. Moving on to the next issue, when Mr. Aloysius sang in the hotel. So, based on Rule 44 of the Legal Profession, Practice and Etiquette, it says that lawyers should not actively engage in traders unsuitable for the profession. So, performing as a singing lawyer at night conflict as an role as an advocate and solicitor. And if he is being paid for this performance, that could also breach Section 30 of the Legal Profession Act. So, in this Section 30, it disqualifies a lawyer from holding a practicing certificate if they are gainfully employed outside the legal practice, if he hasn't informed the Bar Council or stopped practicing while performing. And also, in the Bar Council ruling, in Bar Council ruling 12, it said that advocate and solicitor may engage the business or trade that is in the opinion of the Bar Council is compatible with the dignity of the legal practice. However, if we look at the memo that Mr. Aloysius sing at the hotel, it could be a conflict with his role as an advocate and solicitor. So, in the case Said Mubarak, the court explained what is the meaning of the gainfully employed. So, gainfully employed means that the contract for service. In this case, the hotel pay Mr. Aloy as he sing at the hotel. So, basically, he is gainfully employed by the employer, which is the hotel. So, to sum up, his appearance in the court, the first issue and the second issue, and also his self-promotion and dual career as a performer, both breach the multiple rules. And also his action risks undermining public confidence and tarnishing the profession as a reputation.
I think, Rashdan, you have done a good job in bringing up a lot of authorities and also issues. Are there any other issues that we can bring up, guys?
Actually, I do have one other issue. If we look at the memo, in order to attract a large number of cases, he distributed his business cards.
Look at that subtle off-white coloring. The tasteful thickness of it. Oh my god. It even has a watermark.
To nurses in the emergency departments of several hospitals, offering them payment for referring cases to him. He promised to give 200 ringgit to 300 ringgit for each case referred.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
This actually gives hints of touting.
Touting? What's that?
So, touting refers to actively seeking clients through improper or unethical means. This is often by offering services directly to potential clients in an unsolicited and often opportunistic matter. So, in the legal profession, touting is strictly prohibited because it undermines the dignity and integrity of the profession. So, in many jurisdictions, including Malaysia, the practice of soliciting cases in hospitals, as done by Mr. Aloysius, by distributing business cards, this may contravene ethical rules governing lawyers. So, solicitation of legal work in this manner often violates the principles of professionalism, and this may be considered unethical or even illegal. If we look at the Legal Profession Act, so if you look at Section 94 of the Legal Profession Act, it says in subsection 3, for the purposes of this act, misconduct means conduct or omission to act in Malaysia or elsewhere by an advocate and solicitor in a professional capacity or otherwise which amounts to grave impropriety and includes, if we look at Lim G, it says, directly or indirectly procuring or attempting to procure the employment of himself or any other advocate and solicitor through or by the instruction of any person to whom any remuneration for obtaining such employment has been given by him or agreed or promised to be so given. So in Lim H as well, it says that misconduct includes accepting employment in any legal business through a tout. Also, if we look at the Legal Profession Practice and Etiquette Rules of 1978, it says here in Rule 51, an advocate and solicitor shall not do or cause or allow to be done anything for the purpose of touting, directly or indirectly, or which is calculated to suggest that it is done for that purpose. Rule 5152 of the LPPER, it also says it is unprofessional and improper conduct for an advocate and solicitor to pay, give, agree to pay, or agree to give any commission, gratuity, or valuable consideration to any unqualified person to procure or influence, or for having procured or influenced any legal business. So this means that giving any form of commission is considered touting. If we look at the case of Rina Ba against Koi Hong Kiat, so Rina Ba was the appellant in this case, and Koi Hong Kiat was the respondent. So the respondent claimed to the Bar Council that since 1980, he has introduced 480 accident claims cases to the appellant, of which she verbally agreed to pay him 10% out of 30% claims collected from the clients. But to date, she fails to honour. So after the inquiry, the Bar Committee decided that in accordance with Section 101 of the Legal Profession Act, and accordingly ordered that the appellant be suspended from practice for a period of 3 months, in accordance with Section 101, subsection 1B of the Act. So the appellant was unsatisfied and appealed to the High Court, but in the end, the High Court dismissed the appeal. So if we look back to the facts of the memo, it says that Mr. Aloysius had promised to give 200 ringgit to 300 ringgit to the nurses of the hospitals for each case that they have referred to him. So this is clear-cut touting, and this is in breach of Rules 5152 of the LPPER on top of Section 94 of the Legal Profession Act.
Well explained, Zaf. Actually, the Section 94 that you quoted reminds me of some other issue that I could find from the memo that was given by Mr. Matno. So, if you look at this, as a result, you can see that Mr. Aloysius Yap has received so many cases that he forgot to inform one of his clients, Mr. Poh, of his hearing date. As a consequence, Mr. Poh's case was struck off. When Mr. Poh wanted to sue him, Mr. Aloysius argued that it was not possible because he had not charged him a fee. So, I think I would like to discuss the rules that Mr. Aloysius Yap not abide by in LPA as well as the LPPER. So, if you look at this, LPPER, the rule number 4 says that no advocate and solicitor to accept brief if professional conduct likely is to be impugned. And rule number 6 says an advocate and solicitor not to accept brief if unable to appear. So we can see from these particular rules that Mr. Aloysius Yap had clearly not abided by the rules by not appearing in the court when the date was already given. And this has also caused Mr. Poh's case to be struck off. And this is a serious offence if you do not follow the LPPR, which is the Legal Profession Practice and Etiquette Rules 1978. And I think rule number 6 of LPPR especially, which talks about an advocate and solicitor not to accept brief if unable to appear. So in this particular Mr. Aloysius Yap's case, if he actually could not appear in the court for the hearing date, because he already knows that he has so many cases that he has been taking, the rule clearly says that he is not to accept the brief. So if he wanted to make sure that Mr. Poh was handled properly, then he should not have taken the case in the first instance. And now, by taking the case and not appearing in the court, the case was already struck off. And by striking off, Mr. Poh has already suffered a big loss, and Mr. Poh can definitely take legal action towards Mr. Aloysius Yap. And other than the LPPR, the LPA also comes into play. This is where Section 94, as quoted by Zafran, can also be quoted here. Because if you look at Section 94, it talks about the power of disciplinary board to strike off the role, suspend for misconduct, and etc. And the first legal action that Mr. Poh can take is to report Mr. Aloysius Yap, who failed to appear in court, to the disciplinary board. And what can the disciplinary board do? If you have a look at this, subsection 2 of Section 94 says that any advocate and solicitor who has been guilty of any misconduct shall be liable to one or more of the following penalties or punishments. And what are the punishments? To be struck off the roll, to be suspended from practice for any period not exceeding 5 years, to be ordered to pay a fine not exceeding 50,000 ringgit, or to be reprimanded or censured. I think 50,000 ringgit is a big fine, right? But before we know whether what Mr. Aloysius Yap has done falls into any category of misconduct, we can look at the interpretation here given in subsection 3. So it says that for the purposes of this part, misconduct means conduct or omission to act in Malaysia or elsewhere by an advocate and solicitor in a professional capacity or otherwise, which amounts to grave impropriety and includes. It has so many subsections from A till O, but I think the one that is relevant in our case will be subsection D, which is breach of any rule of practice and etiquette of the profession made by the Bar Council under this Act or otherwise. So if you look at it, we can already see that rule number 4 and 6 has not been abided by Mr. Aloysius Yap. So in that particular case, he had already not abided by the LPPR, which is already mentioned here in subsection D, where it says that if you breach any of the rule or practice etiquette of the profession, then it is already considered to be misconduct. And if it's considered to be misconduct, he can be punished with either 50,000 ringgit fine or even struck off from the role. But this is not all of it, guys, because like I said, this is only one of the actions that Mr. Poh can take against Mr. Aloysius Yap. For now, I've only explained about how he can report him to the disciplinary board and he can be actually struck off for this particular misconduct. But other than that, I'm pretty sure he can also sue Mr. Aloysius Yap for solicitors for professional negligence. But in order for this, I need an authority. Can I have a laptop for a bit, Zaf?
Yeah, sure.
A few moments later.
I got it, guys. So if you see, this case called Lim So Hua and another, and Wong Sin Chong and another appeal from 2001. In this case, the issue was whether the solicitor's failure to appear at the court's hearing and to inform his client of the hearing date, which resulted in giving of a judgment against the client, could give rise to a claim in negligence. And this case was actually decided by the late Gopal Sriram JCA. And in his judgment, he said that advocates and solicitors undertake an onerous task where they agree to act for a client. There is an assumption of responsibility by the solicitor, coupled with reliance by the client on the skill of the solicitor. The solicitor's duty to exercise reasonable care and skill is imposed both by contract and by the law of tort. And the decision in this that the solicitor was actually found guilty, or he was actually liable for solicitor's negligence for not appearing in the court. So I think in our case, Mr. Aloysius Yap, who actually failed to appear on behalf of Mr. Poh in court, could also be held liable for solicitor's negligence. So I guess there's two cause of actions that we have found today, which is number one, Mr. Poh can report about Mr. Aloysius Yap to the disciplinary board according to section 94, and he can also file a claim against Mr. Aloysius Yap in the court, and he could be found liable for solicitor's negligence. I think that's from me, guys.
I think Mr. Aloysius may be in serious trouble. What do you guys think? Same?
I think the same too.
Yeah, me too.
So from what Raj just explained, another issue that I think can be discussed is whether Mr. Aloysius can be sued due to arrangement made between him and Mr. Poh. And if we take a look at the section 112 of the LPA, so section 112 mentioned that no advocate and solicitor shall, our case refers to subsection B, which mentioned enter into any agreement by which he is retained or employed to prosecute any suit or action or other contentious proceeding which stipulate for or contemplates payment only in the event of success in such suit, action or proceeding. So in simpler word, in section 112, the advocate and solicitor cannot make any arrangement to handle a case where their payments depends entirely on a winning case. So if you remember in the memo, it mentioned they refer to Mr. Aloysius and Mr. Poh had agreed to split the compensation equally if the claim was successful. So the fact that I have mentioned before clearly has been prohibited in the section 112. So that like they agreed to split the compensation if the action was successful. I just found one interesting case relating to our issue, which is the case of Mastika Jaya Timber, Sdn Bhd, and Shankar Anak Lelaki Rampoh Humal, which this case deals primarily with the issue of contingency fee and a bit of the fact of the case. In this case, the plaintiff, Mastika Jaya Timber, Sdn Bhd, engaged the plaintiff the defendant's law firm to handle litigation and had paid a non-refundable retainer fee of RM 200,000. And the plaintiff alleged that there was an oral agreement between the plaintiff and defendant that if the action was unsuccessful, and the retainer fee should be refunded to the plaintiff. And the court, in given judgment, in this case has considered a few things, which is the first one is relating to written agreement, where the court found that the written agreement clearly mentioned that the fee was non-refundable. And the second one relating to contravention of Section 15 of the Sarawak Advocates Ordinance, which require fee agreements to be in writing. And which as I've mentioned before, there was alleged by the plaintiff there was an oral agreement, which means that the court deemed invalid as failed to comply with the requirement under the Sarawak Advocate Ordinance. And the third one is the application of Section 92D of the Evidence Act 1950, which mentioned that oral evidence contradicting a written agreement required by law to be in writing was inadmissible. So basically, oral agreement cannot overrule the written agreement. And the last one, which considered by the court, is which the alleged oral agreement was deemed champetous or champety because it stipulated payment based on the outcome of the litigation. So the court held that the oral agreement was illegal and unenforceable. I think in concluding this issue, in my opinion, that Mr. Poh can still sue Mr. Aloysius, but Mr. Aloysius cannot use the agreement between them as a defense because the agreement itself is illegal.
Seems like we have discussed quite a number of issues today, ranging from Section 94 to Section 112 and also LPPR, especially Section 94 on para D, G, H, J, K, N, which all in regards to the misconduct that has been carried on by Mr. Aloysius. And I think we have done a good job today, guys. After reading the memo, we have tried to discuss all of this within 30 minutes, and we have incorporated all the facts, ethical principles, and also we have used our creativity. I think I gotta go now. I'll catch you all later.
In Lim H as well, it says accepting employment in any legal business through a tout.
I think another issue is regards to the self-appearance and also the appearance.
So if we look back at the facts of our case, betul?
Eureka!